How do you put somebody's life story into just a few short minutes? How can I possibly cut down all the mountains faced and climbed, the heartbreak and the laughter, every precious, loving moment, to just 10 minutes so that I can tell you about my Alex? All of you here today, you knew my boy, knew some of his ups and downs, what he overcame, what he loved, and what he lived for. All the little things that made him Alex. For as long as I can remember, I've wanted to be a dad. Growing up, the eldest of 7, I learned at an early age how to take care of my younger siblings. I was 16 when my youngest brother was born, and I always felt like I played a big role in raising him along with my mom. And the bond we developed from that was like no other. I wanted to be able to carry that on with my own kids too, and I was lucky enough to be blessed with Alex. We've always been a close family, especially since Alex's mom passed away when he was 12. I think we got stronger after that. I'd always been so busy, always working overtime, never home, and I couldn't bear the thought of him losing another parent, and I stepped back. We started spending more time together as a family. I went to more of his rugby games, volunteered at his coding conventions, put as much time and effort I possibly could into being his dad. Alex was a good kid, you know? He was smart and funny and loving. Growing up, he got really into sports, mostly rugby, and he played with the local club and the school team, but his true passion came about when he started going to a coding club after school. The way his eyes would light up, he got to talk about computers and what he learned. I've never seen anything like it. He kept both up, right through his junior cert in TY, and then he started to teach at the same after-school group where he first found his love of coding. I'm really proud of my boy. He worked hard, kept his grades up so he could get into college and study law, and used to head straight to the coding group twice a week to teach young kids and inspire them. He always made sure he had time for his rugby training and his matches. He was a good kid. And I wonder, did I miss something? Did I not love him enough? Did I not show him enough how much he meant to me? Did he not know? There must have been something there creeping up in the back of his mind, telling him there wasn't anything here for him. There has to have been signs, but how could I not have seen them if they were right there? How can you save someone if you don't even know they need saving? I wanted to thank you all for being here for me and for Alex and everything you all have done for me over the past couple of weeks. The Sawyer, Avery, and Sam, it really means a lot to me that you were there for Alex when he needed you.
I can't believe he had the nerve to show up here today. Was it not bad enough that he was hanging around the funeral? If it wasn't for that queer, Alex could still be here. Alex was fine until he started hanging around with Sam again. When they started dating, well, some of the guys on his rugby team found out and they thought it was a bit weird. I mean, can you blame them? That Sam kid is fucking weird. But it was just some harmless fun. If Alex had a problem with it, he could have just talked to us about it. I mean, he would have gotten a slagging over it, but this, it's just selfish, really. Ever since Alex died, all anyone can talk about is how sorry they are and how great he was and how much he'll be missed, but not a single person mentions how fucking selfish he was. I know now how much pain he was in, but he wouldn't talk about it, he wouldn't get help, and now here we all are having to go through the same pain. Pain caused by him and his selfish fucking decision. And everyone expects me to be sad. And I am sad, but they want crying, uncontrollable sadness, and I don't feel that. All I feel is anger. I'm angry at the world that Alex had to go through this. I'm angry that he was in so much pain, and I'm angry at Alex for not talking to anyone about how much pain he was in. And I'm angry that he didn't come to us for help. I'm angry at myself that I didn't see how much pain he was in. And that I couldn't help him. I'm angry at myself for feeling nothing but anger. Because my best friend is gone and I should be sad. But all I want to do is punch something so that I can feel something other than pure rage. I'm angry that Sam gets to just sit there and talk to Alex's dad about Alex and act as if it's not his fault too. All he had to do was stay away from Alex and let him be normal. If only Alex's dad knew the truth about Sam and his friendship with his son, but he wouldn't be so glad to see him around. He can't just walk in here and act like everything is normal. It doesn't work like that. If he had just stayed away from Alex, then Alex could still be alive and we wouldn't be sitting here in this stupid fucking memorial.
What's your problem?
What are you talking about? I don't have a problem.
You've been glaring at Sam since we got here. So again, what's your problem?
Why does it matter to you if I'm glaring at him? Stupid queer shouldn't be here anyway.
Because we are supposed to be here to support Alex's dad, and you spending all your time glaring at Sam is only going to upset him. Whatever problem you have with him, Alex's memorial isn't the place for dealing with it.
Yeah? Well, maybe if Sam had stayed away, we all wouldn't be here in the first place.
What did you just say?
Look, all I'm saying is that if Sam had stayed away from Alex, then maybe Alex wouldn't have become a
Oh my
show.
God, shut up. Shut up. What the hell is wrong with you? Are you even listening to what you're saying right now?
What? All I'm saying is Alex was normal until he met Sam. And now we're all sitting in a room crying because Alex is dead. And Sam gets to just show up and act all sad when it's his fault we're here in the first place.
Sam's fault? Alex was sick, Avery. He was depressed, and he needed help, and he didn't know how to get it. That's not my fault, or yours, or Sam's. He's not dead because he was gay, Avery. It doesn't work like that. He's dead because the mental health resources in this country suck. He's dead because some people think he was wrong for being gay, or because men feel like they can't talk about their feelings. That's not on any of us.
But nobody picked on him till he started dating Sam.
Didn't they? What about that last rugby game he played? When he hit one of the other team players? Did he tell you what they said? 'Cause I was right there. I heard every single taunt and slur that those players threw at him that day, and every other match before that. The bullying was always there, Avery. From when we were kids and Alex started taking dance classes and all the guys playing soccer tried to pick on him every Saturday morning on the way to classes. Or when we were in primary school and all the kids started shouting gay at him because he grew his hair out. Even when it was subtle or was completely unrelated to him being gay, hell, even before any of us even knew he was gay, it was there.
I didn't know things were that bad. It was only meant to be some harmless fun. No one meant it.
He didn't want you to know. He didn't want me to know. Sometimes you just have to get really good at listening to what people are really telling you. The time Alex had with Sam, I'd never seen him look that happy before. It was like the old Alex was coming back again.
Well, if he was doing so much better, then why did he do it?
I don't know, Avery. I wish I did. But I don't think we'll ever know what was going on inside his head. But maybe everything just got too heavy eventually. Maybe something happened and he just snapped.
And how do we stop it from happening to someone else? If we couldn't even see it coming with Alex, how are we supposed to save anyone else?
Just have to try and listen. And talk. If you're feeling down, you have to talk to someone. Let it out. Don't suffer on your own. There's always someone who'll listen and get you back on your feet. But you need to be willing to step forward and say you need help first. We have a long history, Alex and me. We met on the very first day of primary school and became friends under kind of unusual circumstances. So, it's the first day of junior infants, we're all in our seating plan, and I'm next to Alex, right? And Miss Peters, our class teacher, has us drawing pictures of our family or something. Anyway, I want to colour something in purple, but I don't have a purple crayon. So naturally, I ask Alex if I can borrow his. And when he nods, I take it. Alex freaks, grabs the pencil back, pushes me from my chair. Turns out he hadn't been listening to me and he was just nodding to himself. So anyway, Miss Peters made us stay in during our break and make up, and the rest is history, I guess. We got through primary school and our junior cert together. But in 5th year, things changed. Alex stopped showing up to classes. He'd stay home, and on the days his dad made him come in, he would sneak out before the first bell. We all thought school just wasn't for him, you know? Found out eventually, though, about his anxiety and his depression. Tried to help him through it as much as I could, and recently it seemed like he was doing better. He showed up to some more classes, came to a couple of parties with our friends. He seemed happy. I always like to see him happy. Sometimes sometimes people get really good at hiding how they're feeling, and Alex was a champion. As bad as things got, Alex always tried to act strong. He put all of his energy into helping everyone else, and eventually he just didn't have any left for himself. Sam was good for him. Me, Alex, and Sam had been in the same class in primary school, and we're pretty good friends, but then Sam's family moved away for a few years, and we all kind of just lost touch, I guess. But when Sam came back last year, well, him and Alex just hit it off, really. Alex came out to me when we were in third year, and he'd struggled a lot with accepting being gay as who he was, but he was getting there. Sam helped a lot with that. He really got him out of his comfort zone and got him to really accept who he was. But the bullying was rough. From the guys in our year and on the rugby team, as well as the guys from the schools we played against. Things were pretty rough, though, and I think it kind of created a rift between him and Sam. He wasn't ready for everyone to know yet, you know? And Sam, he was great. He understood that. But Alex was panicked, and he decided to pick a fight, and he stormed off. We didn't see him for a few days, but we figured he was just cooling off and getting a break from everything for a while. A few days later, a group of us decided to head to a holiday home that one of the guys' parents owned for a few days. Alex had recently started a new job, so he didn't come with us. About 4 days into the trip, Alex's dad rang me, looking to check in, because Alex hadn't answered his phone all day. I explained Alex wasn't with us and that he was working. Quickly figured out that while Alex had told us he was working, he'd told his dad he was with us. We figured then that he'd actually met up with Sam to apologise or something. And because it was already so late, we decided we would just wait and call him the next morning. When Sam told us he hadn't heard from Alex since the fight, that was when things started to change. We realised no one had heard from him in over 24 hours, and the time since anyone had seen him was even longer. Alex's dad reported it, and the rest of us headed home to see if we could figure out what was going on. We split up when we got back and went to all the places we figured he might be: the park, beach, work. But at about 8 o'clock, we got another call. One of the groups out searching had found Alex's car by the pier. We headed back to the house to regroup and plan for the next steps. But when we got there, we were met by guards in the driveway. The rest is all a blur, really. I don't remember much between then and the funeral. Life without Alex is strange. There's an empty chair at our lunch bench and one less beer glass on the table at movie nights. Sometimes you don't notice the way that someone slots into your life until you see these little things missing from it. I'm afraid of starting a new chapter of my life without Alex. We got through primary and secondary together, and the thought of heading into college without him terrifies me. But right now, I'm still here, and I'm still fighting. Because the thing about losing someone is it never really goes away, you know? Over time, pain may start to fade, and you may be able to go weeks or months without feeling it. But it's always there, ready to strike at a moment's notice. It's like you're carrying a stone around in your pocket every day, And on some days, the good days, the stone is light, and you almost forget it's there. But on the bad days, those days where everything else feels heavy, so does the stone. So here you are. You've got this stone that is getting too heavy for you to carry alone. What do? You ask for help. You go to a parent or a sibling or a friend and you say, "Can you help me carry this stone?" You go to someone and you share the grief. You share the grief and you share your emotions, and you make damn well sure that grief does not control your life. Alex didn't know how to ask for help with his stone. I think he'd carried it alone for so long, he didn't even know he could ask. We didn't talk about it enough. Mental health was something we always shied away from talking about. We never really checked in on one another when we should have. We will now. Alex lost his battle, but there are so many others out there who are still fighting, and so many more battles to be won.
Some of the other guys wanted to be here, but they didn't want to be overcrowding Alex's dad. We thought it was best if just one of us came here to support him, you know.
Oh, so you guys can't be here, but it's fine that Sam is?
Oh, knock it off, Avery. Yeah, that might be for the best now. This idiot here is about 2 minutes away from starting an argument with Sam, and we do not need that today. Alex's dad would appreciate you being here, though. You should go talk to him.
Yeah, I will. Known Alex for a few years now. We've been on the same rugby team since the day we were old enough to play, and then when we went to the same secondary school in first year, we started to play on the school team together too. We weren't that close or anything. We had different friend groups outside of the team and different hobbies and jobs outside of rugby. But we understood each other, you know? Some of the other guys on the team can be real jerks sometimes, so me and Alex, we tried to stick together. He was pretty good. He was on the starting team in nearly all of our matches, and we're all fairly positive he'd make team captain by 6th year. But then something happened. We had a pretty tough game against another local school a while back, and some guy from the other team kept trying to wind Alex up, trying to get inside his head and mess with him a bit, and Alex, well, let's just say Alex took a little bit of a dislike to the guy. The guy was arrogant and obnoxious, and we could see Alex was trying not to rise up to it. But this guy took it a step too far, and he started talking about Alex and Sam and throwing around homophobic comments, and Alex, he just lost it. Like anyone else would. This team, though, they were really rough, so when a fight started, some of our guys tried to step in and help and got themselves pretty badly beaten up. And so Alex got suspended from games for a few weeks, and he got a week suspension from school, and after that, we kind of just stopped showing up. He started to skip out on training, and he didn't show up to matches, and without one of our strongest players, things didn't fare out too well for the team. Our losing streak went up and our morale dropped way down. And then Alex showed up to training one day last week looking to come back to the team. But coach was pissed. He didn't want anyone on the team thinking they could just walk in and out as they please and keep letting down the rest of the team, and so he told them to leave. No one saw much of him after that. He didn't show up to training again, and
well, here we are now, I guess. Everyone has their struggles. But this team, we've got each other's backs even if we don't always get along. We're here for each other. I hate to think that Alex felt because he wasn't on the team anymore, he couldn't come to us for help. He could have come to us, and maybe we could have helped him. Talked him down, got him the help he needed so he could get better. Competitive sports, well, yeah, they're competitive. But at the end of the day, us guys all gotta stick to each other and support each other, even if the person in need isn't on the team anymore. Sam is on his way over to talk to you both. Avery, you gotta keep it together. Nobody needs to see an argument today.
No promises.
Hey guys, how are you all? I'm so glad you can make it. Alex's dad needs all the support he can get right now.
Not sure he'd want help from you.
It was important for us all to be here, you know? None of us should be alone right now. We need to stick together and support each other through this. And Alex's dad will need us to support each other.
It's nice to remember Alex like this too. Hearing everyone's stories about him makes it easier to remember him happy. I've known Alex since we were 5 and in primary school. We were pretty close up until I moved away, and we kind of just drifted, I guess. We met again the summer before 5th year, down by the hidden lake near the old quarry. We'd gone there to get away from the kids who were driving us off the rocks, and it was like I'd never left. We sat there for hours, skipping stones through the lake, trying to see who could go the furthest. Before we knew it, the sun was going down, so we headed home with the promise of meeting up the next day. And we did. Every day for the rest of summer, we would do the same thing. Me and Alex came out to each other at the same time in 5th year. The two of us stuck together through everything our classmates put us through. And then in the summer evenings, we would head straight back down to the old lake. And for hours, we would sit there and we would talk about our futures. Our future jobs, family, travelling. All the little things we could focus on to get us through the pain of the present. I always thought Alex's future was the brightest. I could see him working with queer kids to give them a better life than we had, showing them the love and the support that we needed when we were their age. I saw him coming home every evening while I sat eagerly waiting to hear about his day and to read a story to the crazy amount of kids we would have fostered or adopted. He'd be happy. I thought he wanted that happiness. He spoke like that life was everything he could ever want, and his eyes used to sparkle while he'd look out over the lake imagining it. I don't know when that future disappeared, but one day he stopped talking about it. If I brought it up, he'd change subject, and if I pushed to talk about it, he'd speak vaguely. But that excitement, that longing, it wasn't there anymore. The little sparkle in his eye had disappeared. This life is not easy for any of us. The torment we face simply for who we love leaves us with too many battles to face alone, and some of us cannot win. I always thought that Alex was the best of us. He picked the rest of us up in those tough moments when we were bullied, mocked, and hurt. Picking up the newly out, still confused kids, taking them under his wing. He saved so many of us and showed us that there was a life, a future out there, even if he no longer saw one waiting for himself. There's this constant creeping fear in my chest. I feel it trying to take over me. It picks away at every little part of my being and everything I have left leaving me terrified that I will no longer be able to fight my battles because I'll be so broken. Some days I feel like it's gonna win. Like this fear is gonna consume me and take away every little thing inside me. But Alex wasn't the first, and he won't be the last. But some people, they are out there and they are still winning, and maybe one day they will lose, just like Alex. And maybe one day I will too. But I haven't lost yet. I didn't lose yesterday, I haven't lost today. And I will fight with all I have not to lose tomorrow either. I know we haven't gotten along great since me and Alex got together, but I hope we can try and help each other through this. Share the grief and all that.
I don't want to help you through anything stupid queer.
Avery, please don't do this. Not here.
No! He needs to take some fucking responsibility for what he did. He needs to know that if he had just stayed the fuck away from Alex, then none of us would be standing here right now.
Look, Avery, I don't know what your problem is with me or why you had such an issue with me and Alex, but I really don't think his memorial service is the place for you to express whatever problems you have going on. You're grieving, I get that. But so am I, so is everyone here. We all lost Alex. You don't get to have some monopoly over that grief.
How can you stand there and act like nothing is wrong? If you had just stayed away from Alex, you could still be here.
Oh, you want to talk about what I did wrong? All I've done is love Alex. When are you going to man up and take some responsibility for your actions, Avery?
I haven't done anything wrong. You did this to him.
You bullied him for weeks, Avery. He hated going to rugby training because of the abuse he would get. He didn't hang out at lunch with you anymore because of it.
That wasn't me. That was the guys on his team. I didn't care if he was gay.
But you didn't stop them, Avery. You let them throw every slur and derogatory comment they could think of at us. He wanted to die because your friends couldn't understand that him loving a guy was no different than him loving a girl. You're friends, Avery, and you didn't even fucking stop them.
Guys, this isn't the place for this.
No, if he's gonna stand here and accuse me of doing this, then it's about time he took some fucking responsibility. God, what is so wrong about the fact that Alex could possibly love me, huh? Why do you hate that idea so much?
I didn't care who he loved. I wasn't part of any of that. I wouldn't bully him.
But you didn't defend him, Avery. You just let those guys pick him on him and wear him down. You let them wear away his very being just because he was brave enough to love someone who loved him.
What are you talking about? Sam? Avery? What is this about? What bullying? What do you mean Alex loved Sam? What's going on?
Fuck.
You all must be thinking about how selfish that I am right now. And maybe you're right. But I didn't see how I could stay here any longer. It hurt too much. And I didn't want to be the one who was dragging everyone else down with me. You know, there's so much that led to this, and at the same time, I'm not quite sure why I felt like this for as long as I have. I never really thought about the impact that my childhood had on my later years. And my dad, he tried his best. You know, he brought me to all my games, he came to all of my code and stuff, and he was there. every time that he needed to be, and he was perfect. But things were hard. And I didn't know how to process losing my mum so young, and I tried to understand it. And my dad, he tried to help me, but it was always something that I couldn't bring myself to talk about or process fully. And by the time I started to come to terms with it, I was starting to realise that I might be gay, which was a whole new thing that I didn't want to have to deal with. I didn't want to accept that as my truth and risk the bond that I had with my dad if he ever found out that he had a gay son. I know he loves me, but it just changes things, and I wasn't prepared to face that. Dying wasn't something I ever really thought about, though, you know. There was always some part of me that thought I wouldn't grow old, or that thought always just sitting there in the back of my mind. Things got too much to deal with, and everything started to feel too heavy for me to keep carrying alone. Every time I go to school, I'm ridiculed and I'm bullied. And when I go home, it's like I'm living a lie because I'm too much of a fucking coward to tell me dad that I'm gay. It's like I can't catch a break from the lying and the hatred and the bullying, and I just wanted it to stop. I'm sick and tired of going to rugby matches and having queer and fag yelled at me across the pitch. I'm tired of going to class having balled up paper thrown at me head, or me bag emptied out, or living in fear that some student's going to throw me down the stairs again. I had Sam, and he is so kind and loving, but he is too good for me. And I would only ever end up ruining him, and I cannot do that to him. And I really, really loved him though. And every evening spent down by the lake, every winter evening walk, every single moment that I got to spend with him was perfection, and the one piece of happiness that I could have. And I didn't want to hurt Sam. I just wanted this to be over and the pain to go away. And I thought that if I let him go and be happy with someone who he could be open with, maybe it wouldn't hurt so bad. He could be happy. And I hope he knows that I'm sorry. I hope he knows that I never loved someone the way that I loved him, and that all I have ever wanted was for him to be happier than me. And I was happy with Sam. You know, some days weren't so bad, but something just snapped. I didn't know how to deal with what I was feeling anymore. I felt so alone. It's like suddenly my teammates weren't much of a team anymore, and my friends, they weren't even my friends. They turned against me, all because I loved Sam in a way that they thought was weird or wrong. And I couldn't deal with it anymore. And maybe it was selfish and cruel. Maybe it was everyone else's selfishness and cruelty that led us here. You know, maybe everyone else has a little bit of blame that they have to accept. So, how do I stand here and put my whole life into just a few short minutes? Do I tell you about the heartbreak of losing my mother at too young an age? Or the pain of losing my friends because of who I loved? Or do I tell you about how the only good thing that I have ever had, I destroyed because I was too messed up and afraid to speak up and ask for help, you know, because maybe there was a light at the end of all of this that I just couldn't see. Maybe I could have gotten out of this stupid town, had a new life with Sam. So I know, you must all think that I'm selfish and weak, and that I should have asked for help. I can only ask that if it's you, if you find yourself at the end of the line, ask for help. Reach out, share the weight, the grief, load off just a fraction of that pain that you are feeling, and try to find the light.